are being intentionally put through a dream state where we try to remove you from this reality, put you into a mindset of the past using the future. I have more outputs on my station than a full band will have in a normal band. I don't want this show to be about the people producing the music. I want it to be for the people that are there and experiencing it.
Hello,
Hey.
Today we are talking to Christopher Juul from Heilung, and I wanted this interview to be more about yourself. What is your biography, how you came to be like the artist you are, and also about the sound of Heilung. Can we just start from how you became a musician?
So I learned playing an instrument before I could speak. So at a very young age, I'm born into a musician family and a creative family, and I learned playing very early on. I started playing classical music the most as a child, and also studied that. Most of what I do is self-taught. I have also taught music to others in various degrees. I founded Lava Studios in Copenhagen for a reason. Like very early on, Denmark at the time was, I think, very in their music. It was in a bad state. I would say, right. I'm not complaining about what other people do, but in terms of being connected with your roots and being connected to world music in general, or folk music. At the time, it was easier to just look to Norway or Sweden because they were way more connected with their heritage in terms of their music. So I thought that was sad. So I spent a lot of time playing and producing music within this realm some years back. Yeah, and a couple of 100 albums later, I'm still doing that. But the last 5-6 years has been mainly focused on my own projects. However, we are growing also in my production facility, and we are starting to take more clients in, and it's very exciting. Yeah.
I know that your father is actually a pagan priest or something. You didn't want to be like as spiritual as he is, or?
No, I think my dad and I are quite similar actually in terms of our worldview and our look at Norse mythology and stuff like that. It's true, I'm not necessarily, I would not identify myself as a shamanic person at all, but I'm not. I follow a very old codex, and a lot of the things and the teachings from, for instance, Havamal and other things, I think is very adaptable to how you live today and how you rule a pack and how you treat a person coming to your doorstep, and how also maybe to ask a person to leave or whatever, right? Be kind also. That is a thing. And a lot of that, there's a lot of symbolism for that I have been taught since early childhood and still carry with me. Like my father and I, we've been sailing a lot in my life. We were sailors, and I got to see the world quite early on. But I think it was always with a very strong root on where I come from. Yeah, I'm proud of that.
I would say that on stage you are on the left side. It's rarely you come in front, but I'd like to stress that your sound is something that is basically all the Heilung is built on, because without that sound there will be no nothing, like no impression. The show, the ritual is very important, but it's built on the songs. So, and basically what Heilung does is to produces music based on ancient scriptures and like inscriptions and so on, and probably some ancient sources about music. What it takes to take those sources and make them sound so immersive to current audience? What job you have to do, like when you have just your sources?
You're absolutely right that I don't put myself in very much focus. Let's start there. I do this for a reason. Like I'm like on the side of the stage in darkness, painted black and in a black cloth, you know. So I'm kind of, you know, invisible, I guess, as much as possible. I don't do this because I don't want to interact with audience. That I also do interact when I can, but I don't want the show to be about the people, right? It might sound weird because folk music is music for the people, but I don't want it to be about the people producing the music for the people. I want it to be for the people that are there and experiencing it, and it's a collection of things. So yeah, I do make all the music in Heilung, right? That is my part of the thing, to compose the music, and it's also me that produces this albums and mix and master and everything. And I also band lead Heilung, so I'm also like on in terms of like getting Heilung on the road and lead the people here. That is my job, and that takes a lot of time and energy, of course, and it's a big machine that I, of course, cannot do on my own. I have several very good people helping. Heilung is not like built on the songs and then we add another thing on top of it and stuff like that. Heilung is a collection of many different elements, right? So in the core, for instance, we have 3 people creating Heilung, right? And that usually comes from source material from Kai, and then I create an art piece around that audiovisually, and I also help with when we do artwork. For instance, Kai comes with drawings, and then I lay out them and I put them into a visual context, and those things, when we make our releases in a studio setting, right? Of course, Maria comes with her wonderful melodies also, but when we take these things from the studio and we put them into a live context, then it automatically goes into different departments that we have created ourselves. So in a way, we call Heilung Live like a theater for gods, and what we mean about it is we have the construction of our live performance is like a theater production, right? But it's not for, as in a normal theater. What we do is not acting. We are us on stage in a version of ourselves that follow what is inside of us. But it needs structure when you have so many people. So for instance, Kai's drawings goes into the visual department, and we make gobos with the light. We design everything in a previous room before we even go live. So we have like good people working at it, so we can visualize how we want it to look and how we want it to feel. Because like in our releases and our books, our artwork and our visual side goes hand in hand with our audio side. So they follow each other. And that has to be a red thread from when we do our releases until it hits your ear and eyes at a live performance. So that has to feel and be the same. And it is the same. It's the same file even at times. Then there is, of course, the music side of things. So Heilung in the studio has no rules in terms on how we make music. Some things is performable, some things would be impossible to perform. And that's okay. We have made several albums, so some stuff will work, some stuff won't. But for our music and our sounds, we still bring those modified nature sounds, and then we sing to that live, right? And that creates a new universe. So for instance, what Heilung is for 3 people in a studio setting, we do on the later albums, of course, invite some of our people in, but it's grander when we perform it live, right? Because we can have more colors, more input from different people, but they are following the compositions we are making, right? But making it their own. And I believe that is the energy that is important, not that someone wrote that music that they are playing. That is, of course, nice, and that is needed in an orchestral context, right? But it's the collectivity of the whole piece and all the energy that is done for the whole thing that is important. And if you look at a stage performance specifically, like here, we are 30, 50 people on the road, right? And the guy that hangs in the morning up in the rig, putting up our brand new speakers and stuff like that, it's much a part to do that it's a wonderful evening as the composer of the music, right? It's a collective thing, and we have handpicked every single one that is here, and everything that is here is handpicked by us, including the stage, the speakers, the light. Everything is something we bring, so we can ensure that the output we intend to give you in the audience and the pictures you can then build in yourself seeing this performance is, there's an idea behind everything.
Maybe I just ask, like, what is on your console when you play live on stage?
What I play with?
Yeah, is it some?
Oh, that's a lot of things. There's a lot of machines and loopers and stuff like that, but they're meant to we're not here to cheat. What we're doing is we are amplifying real sounds, basically, right? Of course, we can't bring a waterfall with us on stage, which is a sound we maybe use for a background thing that we can morph into tones and stuff like that. So some things has to be calm. In the beginning, I was actually doing a lot more of what we do on the album in terms of, performing it, right? And the only way at the time, and probably also now, is to use a laptop, right? But I thought it was a bit distracting to have that big screen there, and I don't think it's important for the live feeling that a specific filter is applied to a nature sound. I mean, that filter can also just be applied as it is, right? It doesn't change the live energy. And actually, by having the laptop removed and put into a more simple sound player, it freed more time to do more real stuff, singing and playing and looping and all those things, right? So yeah, our setup is also quite crazy because it's actually built to maintain an immersive show also. So I have more outputs on my station than a full band will have in a normal band, right? And that is because we are very much both in my studio and also live when possible, working in immersive music and immersive audio, and that means sound all the way around you, right? So that's another realm where we can grasp the hand of the audience.
So I recall that you made one concert with immersive sound so
Yes,
far, right?
We did one at Roskilde Festival, which was in collaboration with Maya Sound, and also with Midas. We used their heritage system, and Roskilde, of course, and that was difficult, right? Because sound travel with the speed of sound, and that can be difficult, right? Because that can mean when you play for 20,000 people or whatever, the sound is delayed with up to 2 or 3 seconds, So that means you can't just put a drummer in there because his beat would actually be seconds late, which is a lot in music, right? So it was also about figuring out what is inventing the wheel again, right? Like back in the day when when Beatles went to stereo, for instance, right? I like to use this anecdote. I also do that often when I talk about immersive, and that is, at the time, you went from mono to stereo. So yeah, or let's just put the guitar and the drums in one, and the singer and the bass in the other speaker, right? And if you lose a cable, then you only hear half of the band, right? But I guess that was an attempt at the time to do a sort of immersive experience, right? And then Quadrophony came around with Pink Floyd live and all these things. But what we're trying here is very different from when you're sitting at home with your home surround sound or in your headphones, where I believe immersive will be the most used in the future. Because sound travel with the speed of sound. That is very important, because the further away you are from the sound carrier, it doesn't matter how big the speaker is, further away you are from the speaker, the longer time it's going to take for the sound to hit you, right? So that's okay for one person. If you're one person standing in an arena, sure, the sound can hit you from different areas and we can time it, right? But if you're 20,000 people standing in 20,000 different places, you will have 20,000 different ways of hearing where the sound is coming from. And the further away you get from one particular speaker, let's say there's 12 around you or whatever, then of course, it will be very difficult. So that very naturally put a limit on how you can actually do immersive sound live. And what we discovered was that unless you make little boxes of sound in the audience and you go with the whole thing, you cannot put the guitarist or whatever, we don't have that in Heilung, but if we had one or whatever, flute player behind you in, let's say, in the speaker behind all the audience, that wouldn't fit rhythmically with the rest of the band. But also you don't really want to look at a flute player up there and hear him here, right? So what we figured out is that the sound still comes from where you see it, right? And then what we can do then is that we can change the room. We can make the room be a different room with this sound. We can have reflections happening out in the speakers, because that is natural. We are used to being in a big space, and then of course we hear reflections delayed. That there is usually. We can also of course put nature sounds around us. So that is where Heilung really fits well in, right? Because what we try to do is actually create a sound bubble and a room for you where you can come in and you can be changed, right? And sound is part of that. So in that way, immersive sound is very tempting for us. But of course, in a release format, when we make albums and stuff like that, I can tell I have a quite impressive immersive sound setup now in my studio, and it's something we're investing a lot into to make, because we can see that generally the world is moving that way. But it is a different forum when you have it in an album, because you can have the sound close, and we can put way more things around you than we can do in a live setting, because the sound is here, or maybe in your living room, but that is not too big to that you will hear any significant delay from the music.
I wonder, are there any other bands that try to do immersive sound, or you are the first?
Yeah, so we're definitely the first to try it at this scale in this way, at least at that festival. To my knowledge, that was the first time. There is immersive sound already out in the open, like Las Vegas has this enormous dome thing, but there they have the speakers near everyone. I think they have 17,000 speakers or something like that. So it's a different layout, right? I know also we have played ourselves in many venues. You see it in classical venues, for instance, where they use speakers to alter the acoustics of a room so that it can maybe cancel out some frequencies, so that a room that is normally very loud and used to amplify classical music can be toned down with speakers to work for a rock band or more things. So that's different settings they can do in-house. Kind of the same technology, I guess, you have in noise cancellation in your ears and stuff like that. So we have tried that, but what we attempted at doing together with Maya Sound at Roskilde Festival was way more a big setup, right? Where you have the speakers around the audience, right? Which is a bit more like scaling your home Dolby surround sound up in an insane size, right? And to my knowledge, that was the first time. And we learned quite a lot doing that in terms of how what you can actually do, and also most important, what can you not do, right? And I think we are still at baby steps here because it took us a year or something to prepare, at least, right? And I don't think everyone has the money for it or the time for it, and also not every festival will be open for it. There's this thing with immersive sound that is, right now, it will limit the area where the audience is, right? So the audience becomes smaller, but the PA is becoming 6 times more expensive, right? So that is numbers people don't like in the entertainment industry, I can tell you. But Roskilde Festival, they're great people and they're crazy, so they just went for it. But yeah, leading up to that, we had a peer group with Danish artists that done similar things in a smaller scale. And there was John Connor that we had a lot of talks with, which was doing some stuff at Vega. But that was in a small venue, I don't know, a couple of hundred capacity, right? And I think they did an amazing job putting up all these electronic sounds everywhere, and they're very innovative people doing this. But I don't think, even there it worked there for a smaller venue, and I also think immersive will work better there. But like putting those sounds direct into a let's say a setup at Roskilde Festival, there would be too much delay to put it like that. So there is a difference in. It's very much more oriented towards what kind of venue you are at, and yeah, a lot of things has to function with that, both musically but certainly also technically.
Yeah, this is actually quite fantastic because Heilung, everybody perceives them as something that is about history, about something that was like 40,000 years ago, some Bronze Age and whatnot. And now we are talking basically cutting edge innovation. That
but these two things can meet each other, right? Because like Heilung is in its production the highest tech you can get. Like on stage, we have the newest in-ear, we have the newest mixers, we have the newest light consoles, we have the newest version of the acoustic PA today, and everything is new, right? But it's there for a reason. It's not only just to be, we play on all the fancy things. Of course, we do that too. But you actually want technology to be invincible at one point, right? The time where you start thinking about a speaker or a specific light, right? That's where you've been putting away from the immersion, right? So you need this very high quality gear, so you don't hear a bang when they change the microphone, or you don't see a faulty lamp or something weird happens, right? That takes you out of the bubble, because the art of Heilung and our context and where we come from is of course ancient, right? And amplifying this and put it into a reality where you want people to feel something specific, right? You cannot have technology in the way. Technology has to carry it and be invisible while doing so. Then technology did a job. Kind of like the composer also, right? You don't want to think, wow, they really composed this song fantastic in this particular way. Of course, I'm happy when people do that, but during the actual experience of a live ritual as we do, I want people to feel immersed. I want people to be healed. I want people to get their visions. I want them to come out on the other side changed, right? And that is way more difficult than just, oh, look at my brilliant guitar solo or something, right? Or whatever solo instrument you want to play. Because then it takes it out of the focus of the unity and the whole thing, right? So Heilung is written, produced, and also on a technical level put in a space where it can both be very, present, whatever we wish to present to you, whether that is light, sound, whatever, or a combination of the two, but it can also be invisible in the way that you are being intentionally put through a dream state where we try to remove you from this reality, put you into a mindset of the past using the future. And hopefully, when those combine and you come out on the other side, you will feel healed and different. I think the world would be a better place if we could focus less on the individual and rather focus on what we can achieve together, right? And history tells us over and over and over again, whenever we fail this statement, right, that's where it starts to go to shit, basically, right? And that's why it's very important, and I know I have this backing from all my core members, it's not about the individual in Heilung. Like the two lead singers wear masks. You don't see who they are. The main composer, dude, producer, whatever, he stands in black in the shadow, right? It's not about the individual here. It's about the tribe. And when you are at a ritual with us in the audience, right? We were actually thinking when we were planning the first rituals that we should do it with the audience. But we also very quickly learned that it would be too messy, and the danger of personal or equipment and stuff like that could be damaged simply because it gets quite wild at the end, and then you have sharp spears and stuff like that. We needed to have a barrier in a way, but then we of course get the warriors down and dance with people, so there is the touch, right? Because a Heilung ritual is, as for those that don't know, it is both sound and it's visuals, but it's also smell in terms of the incense, and it's touch in terms of the warriors dancing together with the audience, right? And why this is important is because half of the concert is produced inside, at least, maybe more, but half of it at least is produced inside the spectator, right? Like anything you do in life, everything you do as an individual, you record live through your ears and your eyes. And that is your measurement system where you take in and your brain will then interpret. That is true if you are a scientist, a religious, a spiritual. If you are astral traveling somewhere, you are still experiencing it through your brain. And when you come to a Heilung show, you are experiencing something through that canal also. So what you are hearing, for instance, just think about this one thing. When you hear a Heilung song, any band, right, and you are walking at home, right, try to do yourself this little mind trick, okay? Pick any song you know, right, and then listen to the song in your head while maybe you hum it inside of yourself, right? Then change the lyric of the person singing in your head. It will still be the same voice you hear. It might sound like Maria's voice singing, but you can change her lyrics. How can you do that if that is us putting it there? Because of course we had an input to your human converter that put music inside of you, but the things that is inside of you after that sounding exactly like the one you remember from when you saw it on YouTube or whatever, a live show, it's you. It's you singing with the voice of Maria and the drums of Nick and Jacob and whatever, and shouting like the warriors inside of your mind. It's your mind capturing it, but it's you doing it, and you can change it. And that's why the show, when you experience it live, the way you hear it and you interpret it live is you. So the show is made by you. We only give you the first hint, but you are making the music. We are very lucky in Heilung, right? We get to work every day on the greatest machines, the greatest equipment, with the deepest people, local people, tribal people, our own people. But I can tell you, everyone working also to make these fancy studio equipment and live equipment and the light and the people behind that, they have so much heart with them making this equipment. The best thing they know is to see how an artist takes their stuff and makes something great, right? That's what they want, right? And that is very often forgotten, I think. you know, that there is an art in everything you do. I believe there's an art in how you make these machines and these lamps and audio processors. There's an art in how you manage a venue. There's an art in how you produce a tour and how you safely put people through a tour and without people being sick, without getting stressed, without people feeling that they're not appreciated, right? Both within the group but also outside. There's a art form in booking shows, right? There's a whole world of people that meets each other regularly all over the planet, right? That our booking department will meet and they come with a good heart, right? And understand, and all our promoters and everyone working with it, they all understand what we are trying to achieve and they are part of our family, right? So it's a very big network of very, very good people that do the best they can to make this piece of art real for you, right? And I think people should do themselves a favor once in a while just to stand up and consider the joint effort it is for them to remember that moment, right? Not about the individual necessarily, but just how magnificent it is that so many different people can come together and they can make it work, right? That could be a blueprint for other things, right? Because it's people's different energies and different specialities and know-how. If we can get over the idea that we don't have to be equal, but we can be of equal value, right? And if we can learn from that, sure, this person knows something completely different. Like imagine a small village or something. This person can know something completely different than me, right? But I don't need to force that person to be who I am, right? But together, we are more. That's our species, that's our tradition. And we can take this and everything can be greater and grander if we have that respect for each other. And Heilung, I think, is a good example on that, because we have 16 plus nationalities now in all age groups, all different types of beliefs, all different worlds even. We're not, some of us is not even on the same plane at this point, right? And we have people down like that know everything in their field, but there's not a person in this group in anywhere, whether that is in the booking, the record label, the live crew, our performers, our core, anyone, there's no one that do not have the biggest respect for everyone else that works on this. And that is what I believe makes Heilung so immersive.
Thank you so much for today. I wish you a great tour ahead. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.